This is Chris Carlson, and welcome to the Boulder Banking Podcast. My guests are Renate Deininger, President and CEO of Iowa Trust and Savings Bank, and Mike Armstrong, Vice President of Lending at Iowa Trust and Savings Bank. In 2022, the Graduate School of Banking at Colorado established a new scholarship to recognize community banks across the nation for their innovative approaches to serving their customers and communities and helping build thriving local economies. Iowa Trust and Savings Bank is a 2023 Boulder Banking Scholarship recipient. In this episode, Renate and Mike discuss the details of their scholarship application to include the actions their bank took in the early days of the COVID pandemic. Hey, Renate and Mike, I'm so excited to be talking to you today. But before we kind of get into our discussion, can you give us a brief background of yourselves? And I'm going to start with Renate if I can.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be glad to. And thanks for having us. I have been with Iowa Trust literally most of my life. I started at the bank as a teller during high school, and I started working full-time after I graduated from high school, and I attended our local community college. And then I completed the ABA's American Institute of Banking Financial Management program, and that was around 2012. And then I completed the Graduate School of Banking Colorado's Community Bank Investment School in 2019. I'm a native of Centerville, and I'm very community involved and a relationship banker by heart. I pretty much worked in every area of the bank. Most of my focus, especially in my early days, was within operations. I was elected president and CEO in January of 2019, and I also serve as a member of the bank's board of directors.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more traveled, I guess, than Renate, but I started off right out of college, actually in the investment world. Started out with Wells Fargo Investments for a couple of years, and then from there transitioned more into the banking world and was a registered banker, which is a personal banker that can also do investments. Throughout my career, I've progressively have gotten smaller and smaller with the bank, just because I really like the community bank model that relationship that you can build with your customers. And so now I'm in Centerville here at Iowa Trust. My title is the Vice President of Lending, but I do lending of all forms, and then in addition to that, I'm our compliance lending officer, and then I'm also the building security officer. So wear multiple hats in a small bank, which is adding variety to the lifestyle.
Great. Well, thanks both of you for that introduction. So, Renate, I'm going to start with you. Iowa Trust is a 2023 Boulder Banking Scholarship recipient. Can you tell us about the innovative approach to banking you talked about in your submission?
I'd be glad to. Our submission outlined how our bank really differentiated ourselves from our competition by how we provided services to our customer and the community during the very early days of the pandemic. We basically laid out steps that we took to protect our staff and our customers during the pandemic. Ironically, just prior to the COVID-19 taking off, we had done a disaster recovery tabletop exercise. So we had talked about it. It was just basically now how do we, put into play, I guess, our main plan. And that was pretty much how we outlined everything in the submission. And I do want to say that Mike was the one that wrote that and submitted it. It was very well written.
So, Renate, what was discussed at the bank in early 2020? Because let's face it, none of us knew what the heck was going on. But what was discussed that caused Iowa Trust to take action way before most other banks?
I think we recognized things as they were coming. I'm a planner. I like to plan things. I like to have a direct laid out plan as far as my management technique. We realized that the pandemic situation was occurring in the U.S. and it was starting to spread. We knew at some point it would probably reach the Midwest. It was a little bit slower to get here, but I could see the effect and a little bit of the fear that was actually starting to come. And we have a very young staff, so I kind of looked at how it was going to affect them. with myself, I've been in banking a long time. I could kind of roll with the punches, but I could see that it was going to have a bigger effect on them. So we put together, I met with my senior management team. We put together a plan. I was at home one evening and I thought, well, how is this going to affect my staff and what they're going to have to do to get themselves organized? And so what we did is we have a local digital Go Pitch TV, and I went on as a guest and I communicated to our customers and our community, first of all, that we were going to be there for them, regardless of what was going to happen. We were going to be able to serve them and continue to serve them throughout this event. And then we started in with a plan on how to deal with our staff. And the decision was made that in order to keep everybody safe and to see how this was going to play out, it was March, I think, of 2020. We decided to let all of our staff rotate out for a week at a time so that they could organize their households and their families and to get themselves prepared, because supplies were starting to get, harder to get. We needed to get some things to protect them here. And they became teachers because, schools were starting to close in places. They were going to have to become teachers of their children who were now home. Lots of them had daycare facilities that were closing down and they had to make other arrangements. And then, basically they just had to figure out how they were going to handle this, outside of the work environment. So we did that for a full month. And that, I think, really had the biggest impact on our staff and on our community. Basically, we were here for them. And it just, it gave the staff that time that they needed. And that, I think, was the biggest comments that I got from all of them, that gave them the much needed time that they needed. And in the meantime, too, we started ordering a lot of supplies and masks and plexiglass and things to protect our staff and our customers as well, too. We also took red tape into the lobby, started making areas where, so customers could space out. And, we were here. We have a lot of large commercial customers that we needed to service, and we needed to be here for them. So that's what we did.
So, Mike, if we go back to early 2020, what were your initial reactions that the bank took?
Yeah, I was really impressed. It was, I was still relatively new to the bank at that point, and I had sat in on that tabletop exercise of, going through what steps would be if we had a pandemic, and that going through that exercise was I think really critical for us to be able to respond the way that we did, and just realizing that really the major need was or the major concern was just being available to our customers and being accessible, particularly to our business customers that needed to get in there with their deposits and get change orders and just all the normal functions of having your bank open, which who would have thought that wouldn't be a possibility with some areas. And so, just the execution of that plan in preparation of knowing already what to do really spoke volumes of us being able to get through that situation stress-free, I guess, as it could have been.
It seems like a lifetime ago when this occurred. A lot of water has gone under the bridge since then. So, Renata, let me ask you this. What pushback, if any, did you get from your team members when you started to implement these things that nobody had ever thought of before?
Well, initially, not a lot of pushback. I think some of them weren't real excited about being, having the barriers with the plexiglass right off the bat. And also, we went to wearing masks initially for a while too. So, nobody liked having to do that, but I early on, they realized right away, that it was there to protect them and to protect each other. And I think that they understood how important our plan was, and they were grateful that we had an action plan and put it into place.
So, Renata, you mentioned the word impact a couple minutes ago. And so what impact did these actions have on your team members and on your customers?
Well, I think, our employees, they obviously had some stress and they were nervous about it. So the time off that they had really helped with that morale, and it gave them that time to reset. That being said, a lot of what I heard was that they missed their team members and the support that they were receiving from each other during this event. So they were glad that they could be here, even though they had to be segregated, and some of the activities that we encountered, we had to walk through those risks. And, they continually came up, and we just responded and made the best decisions for them. And really, We got right through it. I will say, everybody stepped up, worked together. One example I'll give you is, we have a nice break room, but we limited the number of people that could be down there at one time and, space them out at tables. So, social distancing, we were still together, but, we did it in a very safe way.
And then what impact do you think it had on your customers?
Customers, I think, were grateful that we didn't close our lobbies. We didn't have anybody complain thinking that they weren't safe by any means. A lot of customers decided to use our drive-through, but our larger commercial customers still came in daily. But, traffic was considerably light, especially during the beginning. But they adapted to other products that we offered, such as online banking and mobile banking. There was more ATM transactions, our drive-through was very busy. And the adoption of mobile deposit and Zelle increased, which was a really good thing. Some of those products, the Zelle was fairly new to us. So the adoption of that really took off during the COVID.
What was the financial impact as a result of Iowa Trust taking these bold steps?
Well, we obviously had some additional expenses. We paid our employees the whole time that they were off during that month of November. They didn't have to use sick leave, anything to that effect. I'm going to just say the large amount of stimulus payments that customers had coming into the bank really affected us financially in the form of deposits. The effect was we were in a very low rate of interest rate environment. It increased our loan to deposit ratio because of all the deposits coming in and increased the bank's assets. We went from being about 175 million in assets at one point to being, I think, at the top 250 million in assets. And right now we're currently sitting about 230 million. So, it's a good spot. I'll let Mike talk more about the PPP loan origination, but with that, we gained a lot of new long-term customers that were grateful that we were here. It impacted our community very, very much so. That's always our focus, is to be here for people.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it kind of puts the community in community banking, especially during what was then very unpredictable time. So thank you for sharing that. So Mike, Renata mentioned PPP. What was it like for you during that first round of PPP when it seemed like the world was just going crazy when it came to banking world?
Yeah, crazy is probably a good word for that. It was very chaotic. If we remember to when PPP first was announced and came out, we were all kind of sitting and waiting for final rules to come out from the Treasury and from the SBA and all the other sources of information that were coming through. So thankfully, with the precautions that we took, we had three of us here that we're giving pretty much our sole attention to the PPP program and figuring out how we can implement that and get the word out to our customers. And so being open again was just another benefit of having that process in place of being able to reach out to our customers and focus on them rather than just trying to take care of, our house was already settled here. So we didn't have to worry about ourselves. We could start focusing our attention on our customers. And so the PPP program was great for a lot of them. Talking with one person from the SBA, they explained it as they were building a plane while flying it. And I think that's pretty indicative of what everyone was feeling at the time. We were trying to get something rolled out there that wasn't fully in place yet. And so there was a lot of communication with customers, a lot of patience all around, I think, by everybody. But in the end, I think it worked out in everyone's best interest.
So we started out talking about the scholarship recipient. So Mike, I know you're going to be attending the school in Boulder this summer. Why did you choose to attend GSBC?
That's a good question. I did a lot of research on the other schools that are out there. A couple of main reasons why I chose GSBC was for one that they do seem to have more of a community bank focus than the other schools, at least from what I researched on that. But the other big one was their peer group program. I think we all go to these schools hoping to meet new people and to network and to gain new contacts. And the fact that GSBC makes it so just part of their program was really intriguing to me. And so the idea of having a peer group before I even get out there, knowing a group of people that are going to be in the same boat as me, of not really knowing what to expect, I think that really helps just facilitate that process and make it more engaging for everybody.
And then what are you anticipating during your first year at GSBC?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to go in without expectations, just to try to soak it all in, and to not have any preconceived notions of what I'm going to be learning or what we're going to be doing. I feel that in the end, no matter what the experience is, I'm going to come out a more well-rounded banker, a better asset for our bank here. And so, really, I'm just kind of going in there with an open mind and just trying to soak it all in and hopefully learn a few things along the way.
There's no doubt that you will. I'm guessing many of our listeners are probably going to be asking themselves, hey, how do we get involved with this banking scholarship? So if somebody wanted to reach out to y'all to kind of understand what you did, how you did it, what you thought were the keys to success, how can they contact you? So Renata, I'm going to start with you, then I'll have Mike come in after that.
They can contact me at Deininger, and that's RDEININGER at iowatrust.bank.
And Mike?
Yep, mine is M Armstrong at iowatrust.bank.
I'm so excited that you were the recipient of a Boulder Banking Scholarship. Mike and Renata, congratulations. Mike, I know you're going to have a great time this summer in Boulder. And I just want to thank both of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to visit with us today.
Thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Chris.
you having us on.